Chapter 40. More stone. Again. Uh-oh, they were trying to head and unstone them, but now, I don't know. This title chapter doesn't make it that sound like it's going to happen. Since we reached Duke's house in broad daylight, the old man pulled up to the garage so that we could smuggle the trolls inside. The back door was still hanging open, the Beware of Dog sign draped on the handle, right where we left it, and everything in the kitchen stood exactly as before. Uncle Norm, Aunt Phyllis leaned over the breakfast table. Grandpa and the doctor and the policeman were piled around them like toppled bowling pins. Duff crouched under the table, the back of Grandpa Bee's head touching the tip of his tail. The golden retriever named Pumpkin whined and pawed at the door in front of Duff, trying to wake him. The only addition to the scene was a sparrow who'd flown in through the open door and landed on top of Uncle Norm's head. It'd been turned to stone with its beak open wide. I think I'd secretly been hoping that my mom and dad, or even a sister or a deputy, would be mopping around Duke's place fussing about me. They'd take one look at Biz, Stump, and Jim Dandy and forbid me from spending another second with such company. Adventures can become bothersome things, especially when there's nobody around to tell you to quit them. When I saw they weren't there, I exhaled hard and tried to keep my chin up. The old lady saw through that act and handed me a scrap of paper along with a pencil. "Leave a note," she suggested. "Tell them you'll be all right." "I will, as long as I have anything to say about it," the old lady said, patting my shoulder. So I wrote the note, just to keep my folks from worrying, and also to remind my sisters that feeding a fly to the toad named Three would not kill them. While I was busy scribbling, the old lady said to the trolls, "Time to do your stuff, boys." "Look under the dog," Biz squeaked. The haughty way he said it, you just knew that poking around under a stone dog was way beneath a future king. "How'd it get under there?" the old lady asked. "Accident," Jim Dandy swore, if under an oath. "Somebody knocked it out of my hand." "Accident my foot," the old man said with a snort. "Most likely all three of you were fighting over it." All right, the old lady refereed. "So where's the stone glove?" Biz looked one way, Jim Dandy the other, so the old lady zeroed in on Stump, who hung his head and confessed. "Broke it to bits when we fell on it." Uh-oh, that's the only way they can touch the stone feather. So, they'd been lying to me all along, and probably hadn't intended to lift a finger to help Grandpa and the others. I stood there feeling limp as a rag doll. Buttons would have been fine for my eyes, little as I'd been seen. When Stump half raised his hand towards me, I turned my back from him. We need a stone to pry up the dog," the old lady observed, taking command. So Stump felt bad for lying to Claire, but she was still upset with him. I've got just the thing in my van," her brother answered, heading for the door. "Hold on," Biz squeaked. "I won't allow anything that might hurt that feather. It belongs to my great-aunt Tar. It's her pride and joy." "Wouldn't be talking about Tar and Feather Slice-Toe, would we?" asked the old man, stopping short of the door. He knows everybody. "That's no concern of yours," Biz squeaked, fidgeting. "Oh, I wouldn't count on that," the old man drawled. "Some years back she broke into my store and walked off with my prize feather. I've been looking for it ever since." "Impossible," Biz indignantly squeaked. "Great Aunt Tar wouldn't be caught dead inside a store." "Don't I wish," the old man muttered, then louder, "and if she passed the feather on to you, then I'm putting my claim forward right now. This feather we're after rightfully belongs to me." "Well," Biz hedged, "she didn't exactly pass it to us." "Stole it, huh?" "Borrowed." "Jim Dandy talked us into it," Stump volunteered. "I don't care how you came by it," the old lady interrupted, having heard enough. "You could have sent away for it from a wishing catalog for all I care. Right now we need to get the feather out from under the dog. So I repeat, we need a stone glove." "My feather," the old man warned, pointing an angry finger at Biz before heading outside to his van. A couple minutes later, he returned with a marble arm that looked as though if it once belonged to a Greek statue. The hand at the end of the arm had lost a pinky somewhere through the ages, but otherwise it looked none the worse for wear. The old man also brought the stiffest glove I've ever seen, stone from the looks of it. "For the feather," he said, handing the glove over to his sister with a bow. "At least you're good for something," she commented. Holding up the stone arm, he said, "I'll need a fulcrum." A fulcrum is something to help leverage it up, to make something move up. We dug a saucepan out of the cupboard and set it upside down near the duff. Resting the marble arm's elbow on top of the pan, so the pan is the fulcrum, the old man wedged his fingers under Duff's stone bottom and pushed down on the upper end of the arm, prying Duff up. "Careful, careful," Biz squeaked. "Can you see it?" the old lady asked. Stump and Jim Dandy had dropped to their hands and knees, then laid their heads sideways on the floor. I joined them. "Not yet," I reported. "Higher," Jim Dandy ordered, motioning upward. "Careful, careful." "Now?" the old lady said. "Can't tell," I said. "There's shadows." "Well, look," Biz squeaked, so worked up that he'd planted a hand on Stump's back and was leaning forward for a squint himself. "We need more light," Jim Dandy called out. "There's a flashlight out in my toolbox," the old man grunted, still pushing down on the stone arm. The old lady sent me to fetch it, and without too much digging I found an old metal one that had an orange sticker on its bottom that said Atomic Power. Its beam was so bright that everyone had to look away when I turned it on. As I shined the light under Duff, we tilted forward. I blinked against the glare. I had to clear my throat repeatedly, and the old lady held her breath. Pumpkin whined as Stump gasped. "It's gone!" "Liar!" Biz squeaked, pushing aside. He crowded forward to see for himself. "Probably never there," the old man said. "It better have been," the old lady warned. "My aunt's gonna kill me," Biz squeaked, crowding so close that his snout almost touched Duff. As Biz inched closer, his tail whipped back and forth so hard that Pumpkin snapped at it. Scared, Stump reared away from Pumpkin's fangs, upsetting Biz's balance. As he did, "Don't!" Biz shouted. Biz fell sideways, colliding with Jim Dandy, who crashed into the old man, who lost his grip on the marble arm, which slipped off the saucepot, causing Duff to topple towards Biz. "Look out!" That must have been me shouting. I don't know who else it could have been. Everybody else was shouting different warnings. "Stop! No! Fools! Wolf!" Biz, Jim Dandy, and Duff smacked into another. Uh-oh. Chapter 41. The Missing Feather. It says, IOU, be deep think. Just like that, Biz and Jim Dandy were stone. The stone didn't start where Biz's snout collided with Duff's ribs, or Jim Dandy's paw landed on Duff's shoulder, and spread it from there. It didn't go in stages. It happened all at once, like a flash, except that there wasn't any light or sound or even the slightest shimmer. It just was. Neither troll even had time to cry out. They'd become the same crumbly yellowish sandstone as all the others. The crickets got it too. They clung to Jim Dandy's hair and Biz's shoulder, more stone than a bug, and unable to lie about a single thing. One thing they could have lied about was the whereabouts of the stone feather. Stump was right about that much. It wasn't hidden under Duff. We could see that much for sure now that Duff had toppled forward. There was a stone beneath Duff, but not one that looked anything like a feather. It was square-shaped, with something scratched on it. Using the marble fingers, the old lady bumped it away from Duff, where the old lady could reach it with a stone glove. We crowded around her and read, IOU, be deep think. Who's be deep think? Bodacious deep think. Little as we had to say, you might have thought we'd all turned to stone ourselves, but finally we found our voices. How'd that get there? The old man said crossly. No trouble for Bodacious to put it there, the old lady answered. She's mostly stone anyway. But how'd she know the feather was here? Stump asked, rubbing his eyes if that might change what we saw. I knew the answer to that right away, though I surely wished I hadn't. Duke, I said grimly. But what'd she want with it? To set a trap, I suppose, the old lady said. For who? Stump asked. Whoever comes after the feather. Why in the world would she want us? Stump said. For mining, the old man guessed with admiration. Isn't she slick? Oh, now wait a minute, Stump objected, sounding sick about it. That's not right. We already said no to being miners. Bodacious Deep Think doesn't take no for an answer, the old man said. The question is, what are we going to do about it? The only thing we can, the old lady answered. Go get the feather. So now we're down to one troll, just Stump, and Bodacious has Duke and the feather. So here we go. We got to head back over to Bodacious Deep Think.